Hi, this is Nancy, and welcome back to Scathingly Brilliant Idea. I am back from San Francisco. I had a great time both in the city visiting family and also at the pen show. And I have to do a lot of travel this month, so I'm going to make a relatively concise video, hopefully, that summarizes some of the reflections I had and the experience I had. And I'm also going to give you a peek of everything I bought. But I'm going to start by sharing some of my reflections from the show. It is everything that everyone has talked about. It's dubbed the fun show, and it was a fun show. Largely because of the people, and you'll hear other people talk about that as well. And that is one of the things that makes the pen community so great, are the people. It was great to get a chance to meet people that I had never met before, meet people that I had seen before at other shows, and get a chance to talk to them again, and then also get a chance to talk to some more of the vendors. It is truly a unique community. I will say that the crowds were also what the legend had lived up to. I knew that it was going to be crowded, and it definitely was crowded, and it was actually more crowded than I even anticipated it could be. And that did detract from some of the experience I was hoping to have. It really didn't create an atmosphere conducive to browsing. It was very much, if you were wanting, at least the times I went, if you were wanting to get something in particular, it was very much like rope drop at Disney, where you had to plan your attack in advance and have everything mapped out where you and go to your priority places. And I did have an all access pass, and that is one of the recommendations I would give you if you do go to the show, that you get the all access pass so that you can enter early before the general public, and the less expensive pass is allowed to enter. The thing about that is, even on Friday morning, when the first day of the show, even with that, I arrived around 8 o'clock to stand in line before the show opened at 9 on Friday. And the line was already back to the registration table at the entrance to the hotel. And by the time they opened it up or started letting people into the show at 9, the line was well outside the hotel venue. And that's for people who had passes already in hand for all access. So it definitely made it a situation where, try as I might, because I did have certain things I wanted to get, I really kind of felt that sense of Black Friday on steroids um, overcoming me. And by the time, seriously, I went to my first stop, which was Schon Dsgn. I wanted a monoc nib, and I wanted the Cursive Italic, so I was in a certain color. Well, I was able to get that, and then right behind him was Skogsy pen, and I wanted to get one of the mini low volume eyedroppers that he had, and there were two left. He had brought 5 or 6, I believe, and in that sort of a time, from making the purchase right across the hallway from him, they had already almost sold out. So that's kind of the experience. So a little bit of panic set in there for me. Immediately, I was there by myself, and then my sister and niece joined me later on. And then I went around with them. They had some things that they wanted to look at, and they had a couple of pens that they wanted to have looked at by the manufacturer. So that was very successful. They got a chance to do that. They helped me pick out a couple of things that I had wanted. And by lunchtime or so on the first day, they were ready to kind of take a break, go back to the city. And I took a break as well, back to the hotel room. And then I came back out to the show in the afternoon. So that first day was pretty hard and heavy, in terms of getting things, seeing the show and the highlights of the show that I had planned in advance. And for those of you who saw my prep video, that was very helpful to have that. At the end, I'll go over some things that I would do differently the next time I go to either this show or another large pen show like DC. But that was the first day of the pen show itself. Now, I had arrived actually on Wednesday because I wanted to see some of the city and do some of the touristy things that you do in San Francisco because it had been some time since I've been there. So I took a tour of the bay and had a great time. It was a beautiful weather. I really enjoyed going out on the water and getting a little narrated tour of the city and a history. And then I had, a couple bites to eat, loaded up on some groceries at Trader Joe's before taking the Uber back to the hotel, which was by the airport. And so Thursday morning, I had a class that started at 11. And then that was the bookbinding class. And then I had another class in the afternoon, which was stamp making. Those classes were fantastic, and I will say that the San Francisco class offerings were top notch. I couldn't go to all of them I wanted to. Some of them were sold out before I got around to looking to see what was available. And there were also free seminars. Like on that first day, I went to a seminar on Japanese stationery and pen trends that was hosted by Van Ness. And then Thursday night, there was some after hours. I got a chance to meet up in the Aloft Hotel bar and get to meet some folks. And that was very well worth it. I was still tired dealing with the time change, and I'm not used to staying up very late. So that's one thing I wasn't prepared for, was being so exhausted. But that was Thursday. And then Friday, I already told you about. I went to the pen show. And Saturday, I went to the pen show. It opened up, I believe, at 8 for all access pass holders. And I went back to the pen show, looked through some more things, made a purchase for my other sister who wasn't able to make it, and some purchases for myself as well. And then by about 11 or so, I was kind of done with the show, ready to escape outside of that bubble. And I went into the city to have brunch with my sister and niece and her boyfriend. And so that was a lot of fun. I am so glad I did that. It was a gorgeous day. We ate outside, got a chance to talk. I shared with them some things I had, brought some other things to them since they didn't go to the show that day. And then I returned back because I had another class I had signed up for, an ink swatching class, which I originally didn't sign up for any classes on Saturday afternoon, but by Friday, I had pretty much exhausted what I wanted to achieve with the floor itself. And just knowing how the crowds were, I was interested in doing something different. So I was able to sign up. There was a spot left in that class and learn some great ink swatching techniques. I'll show you everything in a little bit from all my classes, but it's great. It's a great way to meet people, learn new things, and just take a break from the floor of the pen show itself. And then that night, Saturday night, I had another class. It was a nib tuning class that was by Sunny Co. And we were provided materials, and we learned how to do basic nib care and tuning. I'm glad I did take that class. I was able to learn some things that I hadn't been picked up on watching YouTube videos. And we got a chance to practice in the class there with the feedback from him, which turned out to be very helpful as well, because Sunday morning when I went back to the pen show, I had one last purchase to make, and it happened to be from Aesthetic Bay, and Sunny was at that table. I got a Visconti Homo sapiens, and he took a look at the nib and made a minor adjustment for no charge because he remembered me from the class. So that was nice. After hours on Saturday went way late, way later than I typically stay up. And so I was running on very little sleep on Sunday. I went back to the airport around 11 or so to catch my flight, and got home that day. There was a little hiccup on the connection, but I ended up getting home around midnight instead of 9 o'clock on Sunday night. And of course, Monday was Labor Day, so I didn't have to work on Monday, which was helpful. I think I slept most of the day, or I slept really late for me. So that was kind of a chronological mishmash of what I did at the pen show. So I would say that my recommendations for anyone wanting to go, as I look back on my video in terms of what I had prepared for, I overpacked. I tend to do that. I did not use anything in, my Esterbrook cube, very little in this other cube that I brought along, and I could have easily put that into my bonsai bag, which is behind me here. I am glad I only brought 6 pens that all fit in this sleeve roll, and because I came back with 12, which I will show you in a bit. But the tips I would also give you is definitely get that all access pass. At most shows have that. I've been to 3, so the shows I've been to have all had that, which does allow you some early access outside of the general public hours or general pass holder hours. And that is very beneficial to allow you some additional time to look at things, talk to vendors, talk to other people, and really enhance your experience of the pen show itself. Also, take breaks. And if you are going to schedule a nib grind with one of the nib meisters that will be at a show, I made my appointment with Gina for Saturday morning, which meant I had a pen I purchased on Friday that I was able to get ground by them into a cursive italic the way I wanted it to, because I did not have an existing pen I wanted to have modified. So if you do want to make a pen purchase and have it ground at the show, my tip would be to not make that appointment the first day, to allow you some time to look around and acquire something that you want to have them work on. The other thing I would say is to expect sellouts, because really by Saturday, when I went to some of the lower priority to me, but high priority to other people's tables, like Plotter, for example, they were mostly sold out. Travelers Company and Plotter was wiped out of most of their inventory on the first day. So even Saturday, morning or early afternoon when I went there, they had very little left to sell. And that is unfortunate. And I also went around to some of the glass makers. I wanted to see some of the nibs and items that they brought, dip pens that they brought, and they were all sold out, or you had a numbering system that took you through to the next day. So that was unfortunate. If you really have your heart set on that, you would need to prioritize that as one of the first things you go do. And even if you wanted to browse at it, you might not be able to, because they might not have anything left to look at by the time you get around to looking at it. And those would be my recommendations if you go to a big show like this. I've not been to DC, and I do want to go to DC, but I don't know. I'm not even thinking about plans for pen shows for the rest of the year. I have so many work trips coming up between now and the middle of October that I've got to revert back to full-on work mode. So you probably won't be seeing much from me on social media, but I did want to get this out because I had so much fun at the show and wanted to share my thoughts with everybody. The other recommendation I would make really to the organizers of the pen show, and I will provide this feedback to them, is because they had classes starting Wednesday, I'm sorry, Thursday at 11 a.m., there was no hotel special show rate available for Wednesday night. And so if you are not local, you obviously will have to arrive, depending on where you are in the US, you will have to arrive Wednesday night. So I had to have a separate reservation at the full freight that connected with the hotel or with the room block that was for the show, and they made me check out and pay for that room, and then rekeyed it for the rest of my stay. Even though I didn't have to change rooms, but I thought that was a little bit inconvenient, and the fact that I had to pay more for that one night was inconvenient as well. And then the other thing I would say is, I don't know much about the venue situation and how long they have a contract with the Westin and Aloft, but it's clearly too small for the crowd that attends now. And there were times when I thought that if there was a fire marshal that happened to be walking through there, they would not have fun. And, I felt bad for people that had mobility constraints that were trying to maneuver. There was literally no place to walk in the middle. They had tables in the hallways, they had tables on each side. And by the time you even had one person looking at something on that table, uh, opposite each other, there was no space, no clear path in the middle. You had to like push, your way through and weave in and out. And so for people that had a wheelchair, it was very challenging. And some people brought strollers with children. A lot of dogs were there. So there was just a lot of congestion. So my recommendation would be that they limit the number of people that can enter the show at a time. Just like when you go to Starbucks Reserve or something, and you have to wait for the one in, one out, just to keep the capacities under control. I would think that they might want to consider that just to make it more enjoyable for everybody who is there, or limit the number of tickets they sell. I don't know. Again, I'm not involved with the planning side of things. This is just from a consumer side of things, that would have made it a little bit more enjoyable for me. So with that, I'm going to go to another angle and show you all the stuff I bought so you can see the haul from my first San Francisco pen show. At the show, I got a little bit of everything. I got some ink, not too much. I got some accessories, and I got some stationery and paper supplies, and of course I got pens. So I'm going to start with what's in front of me here, and that's the inks. So Kobe Ink had a pick 5 for $30, I believe it was, of all of their inks. And I got these mini bottle sets with inks that some of which I picked out, and then at the last I was able to just ask the person helping me, what's your favorite color? And he gave me his favorite color. So these have been real fun. I did swatch them, and they are gorgeous inks. I had not had Kobe inks before. So here are the inks I got from Kobe. Get to the right page there. And one of them in particular that I would love, this one is not Kobe, these other 5 are, is that number 54 which is an ochre, something ochre. That is such a pretty color. It's very, very unique from anything else I have. So I really enjoying those inks. These inks here are samples I got from Van Ness of the Van Diemen's duo shades. These are just beautiful inks too. So I got 8 of them, and all of them are pretty unique from anything else I have in my collection. And Van Diemen's one of my favorite manufacturers of inks, so I'm really happy to have those added to my collection. I also got a full bottle of Van Diemen's Autumn Pepperberry, which was this swatch back here, this dark blue black color. So that's very pretty as well. And I don't have it here, but I did get the San Francisco Pen Show ink from 2 years ago, which is Golden Gate Bridge. So it's a very red, somewhat orange color. And I have a ink sample. I'll show you of that in another spot. But going on to this pile here, of course, there's my All Access Pass. And I got a bunch of stickers from the different vendors. This was from Van Ness. They had a nice packet of stickers by going to that Japan seminar. And some of these I paid for, some of them, most of them were free from different people. And in this book I put together for the show, I was able to include stamps from the stamp station. Now, I wasn't thinking, I guess, I thought this is handy to produce, but it's Tomoe River paper. It's a Hobonichi, not from this year, but a couple, 3 years ago, maybe, these little notebooks. And there's not enough time to dry, and then they bleed through as well because it's a stamp, obviously. So this was not the best material to bring for stamps, but I did get a lot of stamps. That was fun. That's a fun thing to do, and they're all free. You don't have to pay to do that. So those are the stamps I got, and little stationery things. In addition to that, I purchased some paper. So Kobe Ink was selling this notebook that has all of their ink colors on the outside. And then it's Graphilo paper. So this is nice paper. And it looks like it's 4mm grid. So that was nice. And then I went to the Yamamoto table pretty early on because I really wanted to get my hands on this Canopus note paper, which is a new paper they came out with this year. So I was able to get a couple of these books. One of them I gave to Tori because she wasn't at Stationery Universe. She wasn't able to get away from her table. And then I got A4 because I like to take A4 and cut it down to A5 or A6 size, depending on the purpose I want. And it's usually cheaper to buy it loose sleeve like this than bound in a book. So I got one of each of that. And then I also they had the Robiki note series. So I purchased some different books in that series as well from Yamamoto. So that was enjoyable to see all of those. I love paper. I could spend all day trying out different papers. But I was then at Rickshaw, and I'm glad I got these on the first day because they sold out. These were the San Francisco pen show bags. I got one of these 3+3 bags, and then I also got the single pen sleeve that came with the lanyard. So I was able to walk around the show with that. And then I just got a little mini zip pouch that is still lined with their signature plush. And I said I wasn't going to do this. I told myself multiple times, I'm not doing plotter. I'm not going to go there. But, I forgot to show you this washi tape. That's really cute too, from Kubo and Lucy. So back to the plotter. So I did go on the second day. I wasn't going to stand in line for it on the first day. And I ended up getting the Bible size. in this colorway, which is, I forgot what they called it. I got some accessories from them, and then I also got some accessories from Flax Pen to Paper because they were sold out of a lot of different things. So I'm going to give this a whirl for this year to see what I think, because the rest of the world is in love with plotters. So I decided I would see what all the hype's about. Some other little accessories. I got a nib, a pen show nib from Kirkspear, which had a fortune cookie in it this year. Is that not cute? And of course I got a stub. So that's I have a nib from Kirk for all 3 shows I went to this year. I purchased some Colo-ring little mini dip papers because I did go to the ink swatching class that a well-appointed desk put together. But while I was at Schon Dsgn, I also got their cleaning syringes that many people have talked about. And I got one designed for each type of pen that I have. I will keep these on hand to help me clean pens in the future. So for the actual classes I took, this is the bookbinding class I took on Thursday morning. And it has, you create these signatures, and then you use this thread to tie this, to sew the signatures to the cover that you make. And this was a lot of fun, very informative, and not included in the class that was taught by Cheryl Ball, but she had for sale separate kits that had some of the tools that we used to do that in that class. So I went ahead and picked this up so that I could do this at home, because I have lots of paper, and spoiler alert, there may be some Christmas presents in the future based off of some things I learned in that class. In the afternoon on Thursday, I went to a stamp making class that was put together by a well-appointed desk, and I'm trying to find everything from that class here. This was the tool that you use to make the stamps that I cannot locate now. Where are my stamps? Oh, there they are. I made these stamps in class. There's this pink stuff, as she calls it, and then just these plain erasers. You can make stamps out of these erasers. And I was trying to mimic some washi that I had with a bunch of windows in it, because I was thinking a window stamp would be kind of cool to have. So I kind of used this as a reference to draw on. And then this tool has a bunch of different nibs in the end, or carving accessories in the end, that you use to just attach here and then carve from away, so that the relief that is on top is what gets stamped. That was a ton of fun, and everybody in that class then we got a chance to go around at the end and stamp everybody's stamp from that class. So look at all the designs people ended up making. There's my windows, but some of these Anna had made from a well-appointed desk, and then others of these were made by the students, and all of us had never done this before. And look at how cute these were. Really, some of them were really intricate and had a lot of detail in them. So that was a lot of fun. So now I know how to make stamps. And the other workshop I went to on Saturday, also by well-appointed desk, was an ink swatching class. And she provided these templates that are available for purchase from her, that you can use as a guide sheet over whatever paper you're going to be doing the sampling on. And they have different designs on them that you can then use to help you guide how you want to do their swatches. And she also provided a G-nib and a nib holder and a vial holder. And lots of different inks, different papers, and then she passed around different tools to try as well. So these are the Colo-ring Rolodex cards and the larger sample cards that you can get from her, or other retailers sell them as well. But I did pick up from the Van Ness store table at the show these Colo-ring little dip pens, or little dip swatch cards. So I think I may try that on some of my inks as well. The last class I took was Saturday evening, 7 to 9:30 or so. And honestly, I'm glad I had a class to try to keep me awake. Thursday, was it Thursday night? No, Friday night. I was so tired. I was up in my hotel room waiting till around 9 or 9:30, which seemed to be when the after hours started. And I actually had to set my alarm to make sure I woke up. It didn't, in case I fell asleep, I would be up to go downstairs to meet everyone. So at the nib tuning class on Saturday night, which went until 9:30, so I was late to the party on Saturday night, we got these materials. So you got a loop, you were provided a loop. It's not a high quality loop, but it does the job, especially for the level of work I plan on doing. And we were provided a botched up nib that we had to fix, which is on here. And I traveled with this, and so I'm not going to open it. But we also got this pen, and I got some extra nibs to practice on, and we got a sample of ink in order to do the testing. We got a nail file to do some of the work on, and then these sheets of different grit paper and some mylar. So that was a great class to learn how to do different things on, that I now feel a little bit more comfortable working on some nibs on my own. Anything expensive I will not touch, but if there's some small things, like with a TWSBI or something like that, I feel confident enough I can try it without fear of ruining everything. This is from Maverick Pen Company, and it's a strata layering of different resins that was used to create this. And it's a nice chunky nib holder. Now the downfall of this is it doesn't fit inside of a sample vial. If you need to go past, very far into it without tipping it. But as far as writing with it, I mean, you could write with this forever. So it can do much more than swatching. But look how wonderful this is, with the sparkles at the end. And there was so much that reminded me of, the sky, the sea, like waves. And some of it it's hard to see here, but some of it, when you hold it up to the light, it's translucent, so you can see through it. And some of them are solid with the different colors in it. But that is just a beautiful work of art that I was able to pick up from the show. Okay, so that's all of that stuff. So the big kahuna from the show, of course, is pens. It was a pen show. Oh, I forgot to show you this. This is a nib holder and sample vial holder I got from River City Pen Co. He had these on the table too. I thought those were cute. So the pens, I purchased this pen case there as well. This is the Galen leather hard case magnetic 12 pin. I have this in the 6 and the 3, but I also wanted the 12 because these are very durable cases and you don't have to worry about any zippers damaging the exterior of your pens. I started putting all my pens in that I started purchasing Friday morning. And lo and behold, Saturday night, I brought this down to the show or to the after hours, and it's like, oh, I have one slot left. What do I get with that slot? And I had some cash left. And so, I started, quizzing everybody, what should I get? What should I get? But anyway, I ended up getting this Visconti, and it was more than the cash I had left, but that's okay. I will give you a little disclaimer. I did buy a lot of pens. I realize I bought a lot of pens, but I also was concerned about tariffs and the prices of gold and other factors that have helped accelerate my pen collecting this year beyond what I started out the year thinking would happen. And to be fair, I do have a birthday, a big birthday in November, and I'm going to be retiring next year in the spring. And so I kind of used that trifecta of excuses to rationalize these purchases. But I do use all my pens. I don't stuff them away. I have a lot of them inked up at once, and I do write a lot. I do find ways to use them, and they give me enjoyment. And I kind of got to the point where my pen math is it's equivalent to dining out, for example. We don't dine out a lot, and so it's like, well, 100 bucks is a nice pen, or even going to Chick-fil-A is like a Twisby these days. So I will show you. I'll stop justifying and actually show you what I got. So here, I'll go kind of in the order that I purchased them. So this is the collab between Custom Nib Studio and Schon Dsgn Sashiko, and it stands for stitches, and you've seen some of these online before. So I got the pen from Gina, and then the nib, I decided I wanted a monoc nib. I would splurge for that, but no two stitches on this body are alike, and I thought that was special. And this is the monoc nib I got with the blue fade. Is that not the prettiest thing you've ever seen? And oh my goodness, the writing. I got the cursive italic, and it writes so wonderfully, both forward and reverse. I am not disappointed at all with this purchase, and it will be a special purchase for me forever. I also wanted to get the sea glass Kaleidoscope, and in my haste of trying to post this on Instagram, I think I just called it a sea glass, and the model is Sagittarius from Zodiac Pen Co. This is a collab between Karyna of Karyna Loves to Plan and Bart from Zodiac Pen Co. And I got to pick out, I believe I was the first. I got to pick out the model that I wanted, or the resin that I wanted. And this is so stunning. It's a really nice combination of, fall colors, but it's got the lavender and the green in there. It's so comfortable to write with. I have the Cancer model that I purchased from him in the Chicago Pen Show. He does a great job with his pens. This is so comfortable to write with. And this has a special design on the nib that was from Karyna, and it came with a sticker. So in that pile of stickers I showed you earlier, I got a sticker with the purchase of this pen as well. This is the Skogsy I told you about that I turned around after getting the nib from Schon Dsgn. I turned around to get the LVED, and there were two colors left. I'm fine. This is the color I would have chosen anyway. This brown, orangey brown Ebonite. And this is the low volume eyedropper that I have inked right now with the Golden Gate Colorverse from 2 pen shows ago. And he does surfboards on his nibs, so because he's from San Diego. And so I got that. And then I like Omas and So I was at the Omas table looking around, and this is their San Francisco pen show special. So they only produced about 25 of these. And he told me that if my name was drawn for their drawing at the later at the pen show, I would get my money back. So it's okay. I'm going to get my money back, right? Well, did not win. At least I've not been notified I've won yet, but I did get to select cap separate from the body. This is a piston fill. So I picked the body I wanted, and then I swapped over to a cap I wanted. And look at the colors in this. It's a little bit hard to see against this dark. Do I have any? Let me see if I can put some white underneath it. Because this lighting, it's just hard to really appreciate in a photo. But see the colorway? I think it's called California Sunrise or California Sunset. I wrote it down somewhere. It's a 14 karat gold nib. I got it in broad so that at my appointment with Gina on Saturday morning, I had them grind this in a cursive italic, which it writes really, really well. And it also will write kind of as a fine in reverse too. Not for constant writing, but you know, it's kind of that dual pen design that they were able to put on it. So love that. I also got on the first day the Say pens. I wanted to go to Say pens because of recommendation of Matthew Chen when I was in St. Louis and asked him which vendors I needed to see in San Francisco. You know, he asked, well, what are you looking for? And I said, well, I was looking for a special Japanese pen. And he said to go to Say. And look at this Raden. This is my first Arushi Raden pen, and it's got the flex of the shells in here, the mother of pearl, and then it's got the stripes. And this one's called Milky Way. And so there's the gold stripe, wavy stripe, and then inlaid within that is each one of these individual pieces. Is that just not stunning? That is so pretty. And I got this, it comes with a Yovo nib, so I got this in, what did I get? Extra fine. But there's no stamping or anything on it, it's a plain nib, which is perfect because I think that it really highlights the beauty that and the workmanship that went into this body. I also got I wanted an FA nib. I went over to the pilot section and I tried out the pilot nibs and wanted the FA nib, and I fell in love with it. And I went to Aesthetic Bay to check their prices. They had really good prices on everything, a lot of Japanese pens. And this was originally on a 742, I believe, which was a cartridge converter. And he offered to put it onto the 823 body. And so I picked the clear 823 body to put this nib on. And so I'm having fun writing with it. And funny story is when I was getting the nib grind done at Gina's table, Custom Nib Studio on Saturday morning, I was just playing around with some other nib grinds they had. And they have a Spencerian nib grind that is specifically for the FA. And I tried that out, and that was sweet. But I want to get to know this first. And they recommended that as well. So keep that in mind for the future, but I'm having fun with this as it stands right now. I also got an Esty. I was interested in the oversized Esty, and I did not have this colorway yet. So I picked this up at the Esterbrook table. It was a good price that they were doing for the show. And then I got a stub nib, of course. But the rings on this, you know, solid metal, whereas on a regular Esty, it seems like it's a mix of resin resin with that. Let's see if I got one here I can show you. I do down here. So like if you look at a regular SD, this is sea glass. It has just the band of color. The metal is here and here, and then the rest of the threads are all in the resin. So that was one thing I noticed right away with the oversized SD, is that you have all metal here, the threads are. And this is a size comparison capped here. It's kind of hard to see against this background. Let me pull this out. So this is the size comparison capped on the regular SD and the oversized SD. You can see that without too much glare. And then uncapped, I'll just do that real fast too. I didn't intend to do an in-depth review. I just wanted to quickly show you everything, but since I have it here, and this is not the original nib on this SD. This is a Pactagon nib that Matthew did for me. That's the comparison if you've always wanted to know the difference between the standard SD and an oversized SD. So now I have this in my collection in the Nouveau Blue, which is a colorway I did not have, but I did want. I also got on the first day, what else did I get on the first day? Okay, I got this from Heinz Pens. And this is my Carta. And I was by Rickshaw waiting to hear the Rickshaw drawing that was going on to see if I won anything. And so the line was way back. And so I was hanging out at that table and it's like, oh, well, this is kind of cool. It's a little wild for me, but it's pretty. And they specialize, if you don't know, in colored sections and colored nibs. So they were trying all different kinds of color combinations, and this is kind of what we landed on, is to have a solids, a nib color to match the section here, and it offsets all the teal that's in this micarta. And this is a pocket pen, and it screws it. There's threads on here to make it a full-size pen. I like pocket pens too, so I did get 3. I got the one I already showed you, and then I might as well go into this one because the next day I had to go back to Carolina. I had to go back to Carolina Pen Company. My sister wanted me to pick one out for her. The sister wasn't able to make it to the show. And so I started looking at that table for her, and it's like, oh, well, this is pretty. I don't have a pocket pen from them. And so this is the colorway Primary Manipulation 4.5. And this is also a pocket pen, and it posts. So isn't that cute? So pretty. The resins from there are really something else. And then I had the first night, I had in mind to look at Mont Blancs because I don't have one, and I wasn't going to pay for a new one. And I had heard from Lori, watching Lori Tata's videos, that Sid's the guy to go to. And so I was introduced to Sid on Thursday night. And so I talked to Sid that night, told him kind of what I was looking for, which was not a standard 146 or 149. I was looking for a Bohème. And I went back to his table, and I decided, after talking with him, and there was another person there very knowledgeable on Mont Blancs, that I would start with this, something more standard that wouldn't potentially give me some issues down the road. And so this is a double broad nib. And boy, will this lay down some ink. It's really stunning. So this is my first and only Mont Blanc. Very standard. It's the 146, but very, I know I have all the confidence in Sid of the quality of this, and that I got it at a fair price. I also got the Aurora Morphos pen from Tori at Stationery Universe. I'm definitely into teals and blues, or teals and purples this year. And so this fits that bill. And when I looked at them, I just thought this was just too pretty. And I went with, she was sharing a table with Heinz pens, and they actually helped collaborate on this pen. And so I picked a purple nib to go with it because I'm into purple, the purple and the teal. And I was able to switch the cap from the body. And I picked this one that has a little bit of a peekaboo effect, so you can see the purple nib through if you screw it on the right way. But this is nice. Now her ink was all sold out, but I have this inked in something else that goes really well with it. All those Van Diemen's shaders I showed you at the beginning, I have everything here was inked at the show with ink I got at the show. Oh, this came with a 70 ml bottle of Pilot Black. So that's what this is inked in. So that brings me, I think I've done all 11. So then what I decided to get for my 12th is I had really wanted to try a Visconti Homo sapiens. So I went back to look for that last slot to fill for Sunday. And I tried a couple places. A lot of the inventory was very low by the time Sunday morning rolled around. But I went back to Aesthetic Bay to kind of look and see what they had. And I just happened to notice off to the side, in addition to all the Japanese pens, they had some Visconti and some Italian pens. And so I spotted this one, and I asked him, what his price would be on it. And it was very reasonable for this pen, more than the cash I had, but they take credit card, right? So that wasn't a problem. So I ended up getting this, and lo and behold, if Sunny Ko from the Nib class the night before was there, and I just told you in my other video, he took a look at it, and Visconti has kind of a troubled consistency history with its nibs. He indicated that it was slightly misaligned. And by the way, this is a 1.3 stub to feed my stub addiction. And and then he also thought that the feed needed to be heat set. But I ended up, he introduced me to Nib Meister across the aisle, and he looked at it, and after he inked it fully and not just dip test because it's a piston, he said it was fine. And so I didn't have any charge from either of them to look at it, other than the price of a cup of Starbucks coffee. So that is the great haul from the San Francisco Pen Show. And looking at my timer, I now have made this very succinct, concise video a lot longer than I intended. But I will do some editing, see how much I can bring it together, and get this posted before I take a little bit of a break to do work for the next few weeks, as I have a pretty busy travel schedule. So thanks so much for hanging in there, paying attention, or hopefully if you didn't have the time, you were able to use the chapter marks I put together. But I so appreciate all the feedback I am getting, and if anybody has any other comments, I welcome them. I am new to the technology. I'm making do with just free stuff right now. Other than investing in a mic and a ring light, I'm using my iPhone, and I'm using a iMovie to do the editing, and I'm learning a little bit each time I do it. So I appreciate your feedback and other ways I might be able to improve what I publish in the future, because I am having fun doing this, and I hope to continue to be able to do this more. Thanks so much. Bye.